What is that one thing that you said you will never forgive? That one thing that you said, if it ever happens to me, or if because it happens to me, I will never forgive this and this and this and that. Well, today, our episode explores something that is so powerful, and I know you might not have seen it coming. This episode, we're exploring the power of forgiveness. Yes. So, welcome to Made to Lead podcast, another awesome edition with me, Sukeji Modi. Now, one of the issues we have in our societies today, or as human beings on a daily basis, that people don't like talking about it is forgiveness. So, church has a different narrative, people have different narrative, cultures and traditions have a different narrative. But now the question is, whose narrative is true? Well, we're going to find out in this incredible video. Have you ever been offended by someone? Offended to an extent whereby you were disappointed, you were broken, you felt all the terrible emotions that you needed to feel at that time. And then what was next? Did you forgive them or you never forgave them? The next question is, when somebody offends you, is it easy for you to forgive them or it is not easy? Well, if your answer was yes or no, all of your answers are correct. Because as human beings, we have emotions. This means that we can be uncomfortable when somebody does something to us. So when you have emotions, that means you can get offended. There are days you can be happy because being happy is an emotion. There are days you can experience anger. But the question is, what happens after experiencing these emotions? I want to tell you a story. Long time ago, I actually happened to be part of an amazing group that looked into the aspect of forgiveness. So we had a case study, and it was based on a true life story. A father and a son developed a dispute in their family. So the son actually got angry with the dad. I think they had an issue. It was a land issue. The son got so angry with the father, and he told his father that from today onwards, he is no longer his dad and he will never forgive the father. So the father also said, as for him, he's very disappointed in that son and he will never forgive that son again. That was how they parted ways. So whenever we talk about forgiveness, it takes us back to reflect on the relationships that we have with people, especially the people we consider special in our lives. Yes, because they always tell you, you see, the greatest pain comes from people that you love the most. Is it true? I think it's very true. Because when you love someone or when you really consider someone in high esteem, if they do you something good, it can excite you, it can make you so excited. But when they do you something bad, it can actually break you. And normally, nobody is prepared to be disappointed or to cry because of a loved one or somebody that you really expected not to hurt you at any point in life. So what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is your ability to let go after an offense. This means that if I offend you today and you know that I have offended you, that means you have the duty and the role to forgive me. Now, the question is that mostly comes, why should I even forgive people? Or is forgiveness important? Now, whenever we don't forgive, we keep grudges. Yes, keeping grudges means you decide to take this person. In fact, if I'm to translate it direct into from my local dialect, it says you tie someone in your heart, or you keep them in your heart. You get offended, you cut ties with people. It definitely happens because sometimes with forgiveness, somebody needs to seek for forgiveness from you. So if, for example, I offended you, that means I have to ask for forgiveness from you. Right? And asking for forgiveness is a very intentional step. That means I will come to you, we have a conversation, and I tell you, you know what, Jane, you know what, Peter, genuinely, I am very sorry for what I did to you. Now, upon you, because I have accepted the vulnerability or I have accepted what I did, you actually have the right to forgive me. So forgiving me might actually restore our relationship or friendship that we have, or it might not actually restore. Don't be surprised. It is not after every reconciliation that people come back together. Yes. Sometimes, even after forgiving someone, you will still maintain distances because probably what you once shared can never be fixed once again. So that's how dynamic life can be. But then, what happens? Before you forgive someone, there are some things that should be in place. For example, number one, there should be acceptance. Before you forgive someone, at most, they should actually accept it that, hey, they should acknowledge it, because when somebody asks for forgiveness from you, it means they have acknowledged it. Yeah. Secondly, there should be no manipulation. So, if, for example, you have conflict with your sister or your brother, and they come and tell you, no, I'm sorry, but you also made me angry. I didn't like what you did this to me. It's now manipulation. Yes. So when somebody is asking for forgiveness, it should be clean, without any connections. So if you're sorry, you're sorry. Don't say but. When you start to put but, you're actually now manipulating the person. So manipulation is trying to make you feel bad for feeling that way. So for example, they tell you, I actually, I didn't want to say those bad words to you, but because you made me angry, it's because you don't respect me, you don't like it. A typical example of manipulation is our African mothers. Now, let me take you a bit back to your childhood. If you offend your mother as an African child, what does she do? She does not ask for forgiveness. She will tell you, you see, this thing that you're doing, one day I will kill myself. You're not a good child. You're bringing shame to me. All that she's saying is just a way of escaping, telling you as a child that she's sorry. And I feel as a new generation, we need to learn to apologize even to our minors, even to children. As a parent, by the way, if you offend a child, it is honorable enough to tell a child, I'm very sorry I have offended you. Yes, it's called responsibility. So when you're asking for forgiveness from someone, you should ensure that there is no manipulation. Don't manipulate someone, regardless of the position that you hold, regardless of how you feel. So if you want forgiveness, make sure you come free without any form of manipulation. And thirdly, this is the aspect of genuineness. Please, when you're asking for forgiveness from someone, you need to be very genuine. Genuine means you're being true. Yes. So that when you're asking for forgiveness from someone, you don't come because somebody told you, please go and ask forgiveness, or you want something from this person, or you know that if you're together, you're likely to benefit A and B things from this person, so now you're coming back. That means you're not genuine. If you're asking for forgiveness because of something that you want, or because of something that you will need, you're not being genuine. Yes, you should ask for forgiveness simply for being human. People's feelings matter. Forgiveness means acknowledging that they are human, acknowledging that you hurt them, and when you come out very sincere, it means you have truly acknowledged what happened to you. Yes? So forgiveness is simply a place of accountability. And as human beings, we continue to offend people every day. On a daily basis, by the way. Sometimes, I was actually surprised one day. Somebody walked out to me. We're having a conversation. And then I asked the person, I was like, hi, do you think I've ever offended you? She said, yes, you offended me. I was surprised. I told her, what did I do? She told me, I didn't like what you did, this and this and this and this. And okay, to me, it wasn't a big thing for me because I thought it was something easy. How about people who catch grudges with you because you just did not greet them? You didn't greet them. Maybe to you it feels like it's something normal, but to them they felt they were offended. So the person told me, I felt so offended the day when you did this and this to me. I didn't know. So I just told the person, hey, I'm very sorry. So whenever you're asking for forgiveness from someone, it's not about your perspective. It's also about their perspective. Most times. That's why if you ever have a fallout with anybody, don't come to them with a conclusion. Yes, don't come to them with a conclusion at all. That means even if it was a fallout, don't come to them and say, you're a bad person, you're a mean person, how could you do this to me? No. You actually deserve to pause a bit and then hear from their side what actually happened. Because I think most fallouts happened and maybe the other person just has no idea. One of my most interesting reads last week was on two friends who were together in medical school that was in India. So one day, the professor gave his report. I think they had an assessment test. So the other boy was not around. So the professor gave his friend the two papers for him and for his friend. So the professor was like, hey, since you're friends, I want you to take this paper and later you give to your friend. So when his friend later came, he actually forgot to bring the paper. He forgot it at home. So his friend walked out and was like, "Hi guy, where is my paper?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm very sorry, I forgot your paper at home." So for this guy, he felt like it was not a big deal. "I forgot your paper, I'll bring it tomorrow." But for the other guy, he really took it so heavy in his heart. He felt like, first of all, why did he even take my paper? Secondly, it was a breach of privacy. Now, to some people it is privacy, but to some other people it's not, because you're my friend and I simply helped you. I took your paper. So when it comes to forgiveness, or whenever conflict happens, don't assume that because you have understood what has happened, or because they have offended you, you now come with conclusion. No. If you're really intentional about keeping relationships or being with people, then whenever anything happens, you'll actually seek out to even hear their side of the story. Yeah, you'll hear their side of the story. And once you hear their side of the story, then that is exactly when you make sound judgments. So in today's society, we have a lot of things that we can see today, and they are a result of lack of forgiveness. Now, nations have gone into war because of lack of forgiveness. That means if only the leader had forgiven the other leader, some wars would be very unnecessary in most cases. Bring in all the war-torn countries that you know. There are always two people who took the lead, and there was something they refused to compromise, or they refused to forgive each other for. So they decided to come up. How about the continuous intercommunal conflict? What do you think makes one community to attack another community from time to time? Simple. Lack of forgiveness. All right. So mostly lack of forgiveness is being put around events or things that happened in people's lives, and then they just make it a big thing, and then they use it against the other teams. Some wars were just unnecessary. I one day read an article and it said that the Second World War was not supposed to happen if only some leaders had forgiven themselves, the political leaders by then. How about we look at the current ongoing silent war that we're experiencing, the US and Iran? What would have happened if the two leaders had sat together, if they had forgiven themselves? Because for any war to happen in any country, they have a past and a history that they don't like. Yes. So usually countries go into war because of lack of forgiveness. Communities fight each other and kill each other because of forgiveness. To make matters worse, why do you even hate a certain tribe? Yes, I'm talking to you. Maybe you're here and then there's one community, some tribe, you don't like them. If we actually look back, maybe it's not what they did to you directly, but what they did to somebody you know. And that was the day you just lost interest in them. Exactly. That's what lack of forgiveness does. So normally when we talk about forgiveness, it's not about you as a person alone. It goes ahead, it grows as a person. So maybe on a personal level, when there is no forgiveness, or when you don't forgive someone, usually we have relationships break, families break. How about family members that don't even greet each other? They don't greet each other, they don't visit each other. This is how wild families have become. Okay? How about family members that continue to fight each other? They're not happy for each other. You might find out there was just one thing that happened and they refuse to forgive each other. This is how true unforgiveness is in our societies, in our communities, in our families. At some point, even nowadays, families are recruiting children to hate the other family. Yes, simply because as adults, they never forgave each other. This is on a personal level. Now it grows to family level. Now it also grows to community level. Yeah, an aspect whereby this community, people nowadays do revenge fighting. They go, they attack the other community. Something that is very sad. And a simple initiative of reconciliation would have solved it. So whenever we escape from whenever we escape from forgiveness, whenever we escape from addressing issues that we feel caused us pain or caused us discomfort, then we just heap and prepare ourselves for a lot of uncertainties in the nearby future. That's why this podcast today comes to remind you that you can forgive. Regardless of what has happened to you, I might not know what you experience. I might not know the depth of trust or pain that you felt at that point when you were hurt by a loved one or an event or even a government or a nation. But at some point, I solely believe that you have the capacity to reflect and look into this event and also let go. Yes. So, what are the effects of unforgiveness? If we talk about forgiveness, Without the effects of unforgiveness, it makes our conversation incomplete. That's why we have to look at what happens when you don't forgive. Yes. Have you ever heard about this conversation? Imagine somebody offends you and you just refuse to forgive them, because some people will choose silent treatment. Maybe if there's a conflict, some people will choose to withdraw in most times. Personally, me, I used to have that tendency. So if something is wrong, I keep quiet and I withdraw. Of which later I learned it's not a good thing. Some things need to be confronted, some things need to be addressed, right? So whenever you don't forgive, or whenever you don't forgive a thing, it's like you're heaping things in a pit. It's like you have a pit and you're just heaping things. So I want you to imagine with me a farm where they're making composed manure. Yeah, composed. That means they look for the cow dung, they put rotten products for plants, they put leaves, they put all animal all the animal products that are no longer being used, or just anything that they know can decompose, can help in the process of decomposition, they all put it together. Now that's how unforgiveness looks like. But for composed manure, what happens is that they close it, they seal it in such a way so that the decomposition happens. With unforgiveness, it is just like that compost pit, but it does not have a seal. That means with time, if it continues decomposing, you will actually be getting the smell. Yes, a stinking smell of decomposition. That is what unforgiveness does to you. When you don't forgive someone, you end up hurting yourself. That means that some new tendencies will come out to you. Things like bitterness. Let me tell you something. The best origin for bitterness, the most sure origin of bitterness is unforgiveness. When you don't forgive someone, you actually become very bitter. You become very bitter unnecessarily. And maybe you're watching me right now and you are bitter, you don't understand how you got here, you really want to change. The step might be very simple: releasing somebody in your heart that you had decided never or even not to forgive them. Forgiveness can be a very difficult process, but why do we still confront, or why do we still accept this process? We accept it because it matters to us. It's about your sanity, it's about your peace. You know, I remember one day somebody told me the day they forgave someone, they felt like a load was taken away, which is very true. And forgiveness can be an emotional load, and you deserve to be free. That means you deserve to go back and reflect on your life and see, okay, I had a fallout with this person. I decide to forgive them. It might be true that even now as we speak, you're not in good terms with them. If you can reach out to them and you knew that you offended them, feel free to reach out to them. But if you knew that they offended you, also feel free to just release them from your heart. Forgiveness does not have to be very loud. Sometimes it can be the most silent process ever. Because for you to forgive someone, sometimes it will cause you to cry, it will cause you to break down, and it can even cause you to see the worst version of yourself. So forgiveness is a poisonous pin. It's like swallowing poison. That's why one of the tips of self-care is forgiving people. If you want to be happy, if you really want to live comfortable, learn to forgive people. Even for the worst that they might have done to you, learn to forgive them. Forgive them is releasing them. Forgive them is letting them go. Because sometimes there are people that you just cannot change. Yes, no matter how you claim to love them. Even if you think you're Bob the Builder. You know who's Bob the Builder? So Bob the Builder is someone who believes that they can build someone. So if somebody comes today who has bad character, or maybe for example, you have a friend, yes, let me put it in friendship context, you have a friend who has very bad character, but you like that friend. So what you do as Bob the Builder is you be like, no, I think I will change them. I think I will change my friend. My friend will stop doing this because of me. Or even in relationships, maybe you find somebody who's very abusive, a man that beats you as a woman, or even the vice versa could be true, a woman that beats men. What happens is that sometimes because you love such people, you might be anticipating in your mind so much to be able to change them. But sometimes you cannot change them. Bob the Builder, rest. It's not everybody that you can change. Sometimes the best way to forgive people is by letting them go. Because by letting them go means that you actually stop hurting yourself. I want you to picture with me a narrative whereby you're handling wire, like a live wire, a barbed wire. When if you continue to squeeze it and pull it, it will actually be